Hello everyone, welcome back to My Hero Academia Podfics. Today is the continuation of the Coffee Shop Hero. This will be Part 8, Chapter 8, A Coffee Shop Hero, Aries' Lament. Izuku has his heroic tendencies as he's crouched behind a dumpster, knowing that the chances of him winning a fight were less than zero. He had nothing but his dish rag, his mother's journal, and a taser out of juice from being used in helping previous trapped citizens. That left distraction, but how does one distract a serial killer with ideological tendencies? An idea formed in his head but was interrupted. Just another fake hero, boy, and you're just like your brother. Now die. Stain snarled. Izuku bolted from his spot, tossing the broken taser between Iida and Stain. Native looked on helplessly as the blood loss threatened to take away the hero's consciousness. What in the world? Who the hell? Stain and Iida's surprised yells were overlapped. Izuku slowly walked past Native, holding his hands up in surrender. Instead of killing children, misguided and unheroic as they are, why don't we talk like the civilized people we are? Keeping his voice gentle, the greenette gave a kind smile that didn't match the poison that was in his green eyes that were glowing in the moonlight. Both sides of the alley seemed shocked. It's not every day a death match is halted by a teenager in a suit, after all. There's nothing to talk about, boy. I don't have time to waste on civilians, and judging by your lack of muscle and clothes, that's what you are. Now scram. The hero killer seemed ready to dismiss him. That simply wouldn't do for Izuku's plan of keeping everyone alive. According to what Shota had told him, his own sightings while fleeing, Endeavor and the other heroes were in the area. Shota would get someone here. Izuku just had to last until then. The greenette moved to rebuttal Stain, only to be interrupted by the brat who caused this whole mess. While I do not wish to agree with such a monster, I must in this case. Civilian, please leave immediately while us heroes take care of this villain. Izuku walked up to the revenge-obsessed teen and whacked him with his dish rag, earning a snort from Stain. First off, my name is Izuku Midoriya, not civilian. And second, I don't see any active heroes currently, seeing as you're an intern and Native is now passed out from his wounds. This is no villain versus hero fight that I'm seeing. No, what I see is a child trying to go against someone far above them in the name of vengeance. He almost killed my brother. That monster deserves to die, Iida shouted back. Yes, your hero brother. While Stain-san here can't seem to see that he's going about this revolution all wrong, you don't get to break the law or your brother's morals just because you're hurting inside. Stain let out a deep, malevolent chuckle. Of course it's a Midoriya standing in my way. First your mother saying I was misguided, and now you. Izuku, you said your name was? Mind enlightening me on what I'm doing wrong? The tone was mocking but curious. Izuku swallowed his questions about yet another side of his mother being revealed, and instead gave a small bow. Why, certainly, Stain-san. Did you know that the instant you killed or maimed those fakes, you immortalized them, turning them into martyrs for Hero Society? Huh? Both Hero Student and Hero Killer sputtered. Honestly, they synced up so well for men trying to kill each other. Izuku sighed dramatically and rubbed his chin in thought. It's true, in the 3 months since your first victim died, there have been 4 books in the works about his life, 2 documentaries, and countless memorial merch that includes everything from his heroic phases to cosplay. Children are wearing the merch, adults view them as someone to remember. Really, all you did was take a shady hero, being investigated for spousal abuse, and put him on a pedestal. Giving a what-can-you-do shrug, he continued, and now you're going to kill a student whose death will make the Ingenium name even more famous. I wouldn't be surprised if they put a statue up in remembrance, but I guess you'll want to destroy what little support you have in the comic folk. If that's the case, be my guest. Stain blinked. What do you mean, little Midoriya? You and your mother, always tearing others down with your words. Well, it is less bloody than knives, and far more effective. That's proven by your hesitance right now to strike Iida-san down. The alley filled with bloodlust. Stain seethed at the boy now blocking his way. Inka was just like him, always scolding him when he played her for information. Every one of his 3 encounters with the woman, 2 online and 1 offline, when he stupidly let a thug shoot him 5 rounds into his chest. It was early days of being a vigilante, not even a month after he dropped from Shiketsu to rid the world of crime and fake heroes. His first target, a small drug ring, kept eluding him. For weeks, he would bust into warehouses only to find them that were once filled with drugs, but they'd be empty before he or the police even showed. It frustrated him to no end, until the underground forums whispered of an informant willing to give you any intel, for the right price, of course. She had been working for the drug ring, and Stain finally managed to catch one upper guy to torture. It took a few days, but eventually he got the contact information. All his savings went into it, but he paid her fee before the gang could up their price. Honestly, if he hadn't met Inko after the gunshot wounds, with her calmly telling him her name, with a list of everything she'd do to him if he ever spilled so much of, or even Googled her name, he'd think that she'd be the perfect partner in this crusade. Being scolded like a child and finding threatening messages in your home, despite moving 3 times a month, really put a damper on the whole trust aspect of a partnership required. Stain blinked back the thoughts on the memories, focusing on the boy in front of him. While Inko never physically attacked him, does having a knife aimed at your balls count as motivation or attacking? She was still dangerous. If the brat was anything like her, Stain had to be careful. What would you do then? He seethed. Slander their names online and post incriminating evidence, Izuku said with a kind smile that looked eerily like Satan had asked for tea. That's most unbecoming, and Iida's rant was cut off by a sharp glance. Then I'd drain their bank accounts, funneling it into a fake mafia account while setting them up to take the fall, all while drinking tea. You are a very terrifying individual, Brad, Stain finally admitted. What the man didn't know was that he did just that to the 8 precepts, only to, instead of posting their overseas accounts and transactions rather than fabricating them. The shop owner hummed and stepped back while dragging Iida along. Stain blinked in surprise. And you are officially captured, Stain-san, or should I say Akaguro Chizome. Instantly fire came from above, cutting Stain off but striking where Iida used to be. Said boy paled at the thought he was almost incinerated. Izuku winced as a spare burst of flames licked his arm. Are you all right, citizen? Iida exclaimed. You little shit, could be heard from behind the flames, Shota's scarf whipped from above, Endeavor making sure that the serial killer couldn't escape the alleyway. Yeah, don't worry, I've had kitchen burns worse than this, Izuku assured, despite the blisters arising. Both teens looked at Shota and Endeavor, and watching them as they dodged a volley of knives and kicks, though Iida still looked ready to jump in despite having a look of shame on his face. Ice covered the ground around the pair, and Kirishima's classmate, Shota Todoroki, landed with a graceful thump. Dual-colored eyes and a rough scar peered at them, flicking over to Native's collapsed form. What happened? Todoroki ordered, not asked. Yes, I'd like to know that too, problem child. A very irate and out-of-breath Shota Aizawa was growling at him. His boot was shoved into a bloody and burned man's face, loosely resembling Stain. Apparently Shota didn't feel like showing mercy today, Izuku mused. Hey, Shota-san, funny story that is. The erasure hero just sighed, adrenaline dying. You know what? Never mind, I'll hear it at the hospital. But I don't need a hospital, Izuku pointed out. A snort sounded from Todoroki, who quickly acted like it didn't happen and helped Iida walk towards the arriving ambulances, Native being treated with care by paramedics. I'm not even going to try to argue with you, Izuku. We're going to the hospital where Eri is, and that's final. Who is the dead piece of scum that sent my little sunshine to the hospital? Shota was immediately reminded of the footage of Izuku taking Bakugo down. By this point, the police had quietly arrived and took the infamous serial killer, or hero killer, into custody. Shota sighed and grabbed the kid he stupidly grew attached to, and no, it wasn't because of all the coffee, dragging him to a police vehicle that was waiting. She's fine, problem child, shaken up when a 4th Nomu crashed into the building, but all right. Eri's getting a checkup, and you're getting the burn treated, not to mention a check for smoke inhalation and witness statements. Shoving Izuku in the back gently, Shota climbed in and motioned for the rookie to drive. Being an underground hero with a face of death had its perks. Izuku was in a daze when he walked through the emergency doors, the ordeal finally catching up to him. He talked a serial killer down. He sassed a serial killer. What was he thinking? And Eri would have been all alone if he died. Speaking of his angel, Eri was sitting on a bed with a breathing mask held to her face, Nurse giving her pats. She looked dead and scared, making Izuku's heart break from across the crowded floor of the injured. Eri. He swore he barely whispered her name, but watery eyes met his own. Instantly she bolted through the room, Izuku kneeling so she could land into his arms. Siblings cried together while Shota awkwardly walked away to get Izuku put on the waiting list. Nissan, I was so scared. I thought you died. Nobody would tell me anything. You didn't come back for me. Eri's muffled sobs drenched his shoulder, and Izuku just hugged her tighter. I know, Eri-chan, but know this, I will always come back. It's my promise to you, to always be your hero, your big brother. You promise? Still, her face was glued to his shirt. Like I said before, I promise, always and forever. They, Izuku and Iida that is, ended up being scolded by detectives, more so Iida, as citizens in a crisis, quirkless ones especially, have certain leeway in Good Samaritan laws, Plus, Izuku never threw a punch. Iida, though. Again, I feel I must apologize. It is my duty as a hero in training to put the greater good before my wants, and I failed in that duty yesterday. If Endeavor-san and Aizawa-sensei hadn't taken the credit and hid what I did from the media, I wouldn't be a hero anymore. Midoriya-san, please accept my most humble apologies and all, as you clearly were acting like a hero. Chopping motions accented the words, making Izuku's sweat drop. They were with Shota in Iida's hospital room. The boy wanted to apologize before Izuku took Eri home to binge-watch a million Disney movies. I wasn't being a hero back there, Izuku replied, and held a hand up to stop Iida from refuting his claim. No, I really wasn't. I'm a hero for one person only, and that's just her love for me speaking. I wasn't acting like a human. I was acting like a decent human being. Whatever do you mean by that? That was beyond heroic. No, Iida-san, being a hero is just a phase or a phrase society uses without any concrete concept. I can't be a hero. I'm a business owner, quirkless, and relatively untrained. But I always find myself living by an old proverb. I don't always succeed. In fact, oftentimes it's my own selfish love for my loved ones that would prevent me from living by it. But that's besides the point. Would you like to know what the proverb is? Yes, Iida whispered. It's rather simple, really. To know what is right, yet choose to do nothing, that is the mark of a coward who lost what makes them a decent human being. Maybe you need to stop looking at making yourself a hero and focus on just being a person, not afraid to help and do what's right, even when it's hard. Maybe next time you won't just look to get revenge, but instead protect your mentor. Just a thought. Good day, Iida-san. Aizawa-san. With a bow, Izuku walked out to meet a beaming Eri. Sensei, I don't think I understand, not fully, Iida admitted. Shota looked at his student, choosing to speak for the first time. And that's fine. You'll have plenty of time to reflect the meaning during your 2-week suspension and 6-week detention. Understood. Thank you for not expelling me, Sensei. Don't thank me. I had your drop forms filled out. Izuku Midoriya, however, used a favor to convince me to keep you on. Heaven knows why. Shota muttered the last part, still not convinced that letting a child who tried to Rambo a serial killer stay was for the best, no matter how convincing Izuku was. If you want to thank him, he needs free labor at his shop for the next 2 weeks. Iida stood gaping as he was basically just told to go work for the boy who saved his life and career. A business card with Midoriya's shop address hit him in the face. Oh, and mess up my coffee while there. Not even All Might will save you. The ominous warning was all Shota said before leaving, intent on catching up to Izuku and chewing him out on the entire train ride home. 10-10. More stirring, Eri ordered while puffing out her cheeks. She stood on a stool, directing her slave, her trusted helper. Yes, tiny boss, Iida bellowed out while whipping the batter. Meanwhile, Izuku just laughed from the register. The customer that accepted 2 cups of coffee to go joined in as well. I swear, Midoriya-san, you really picked an interesting helper, Ray chuckled. The quirkless man was dressed in fashionable suit and no longer held the air of depression that he had all those nights ago. Ah, yes, he's a welcome change in the evenings. How is Tanaka-san treating you? Terrifying. Every day my life flashes before my eyes, the man said, pale. But he's the best boss I've ever had. I'm happy for you. Now, here's your complimentary bagel to celebrate 3 months being hired. I'll pay for the bagel if you tell me what your quirk is, Ray tried. Izuku just shook his head and sent the grumbling man on his way. While Izuku didn't outright hide his status, only close customers, friends, and Eri knew he had no quirk. Everyone else seemed to think he had a coffee god quirk or was some sort of cryptid. A voice laughing at him made Izuku realize he said that last sentence out loud. Those would stop if you didn't ominously know what to say in every situation, little listener, Yamana boomed as he pulled Shota in. Tiny boss, we must wash our hands 5 times according to the excellence of this prestigious establishment. I swear you kept him on to spite my sanity, problem child. Shota growled while pulling out his sleeping bag. Izuku gave an innocent smile. Oh, whatever do you mean? Hiring him this past month was the best stroke of genius I've had in ages, because he clearly is qualified for it. Izuku lied through his teeth. Why would I try to spite you? After all, it's not like you tried hacking into my phone 7 times to put a tracker on it, or had Nezu put a necessary alley camera right out my window, and it's definitely not like you snapped a tracking cuff on and listening device on my ankle, complete with a taser button for anyone who took it off that required my unique skills to get off safely. Shota stared at the grinning boy while snorting. Well, you haven't broken the rules of drop-off since, and once again, no, Hizashi, you aren't being told about them, Shota tacked on from habit. One of these days you'll spill, Shota. You too, little cryptid. Coffee, anyone? It happened on a Saturday. The birds were singing, his underlings were handling the shop, and the league had been quiet. A rare treat, the Midoriya siblings took their game of heroes versus villains to the park. As always, Princess Unicorn stopped the fiendish tickle guy from overthrowing the queendom, this time saving the summer gala. "Yes, fall to my mighty sparkle scarf," Eri ordered. Izuku groaned as he lay defeated beneath her. All was right with the world. And then he spotted a portal, a small purplish mass that only one person possessed. In the shadow of the slide, mere feet away, the playground was eerily silent, empty. No witnesses, Izuku realized. "Eri, prepare to run," he whispered, and rolled away just as Tomura Shigaraki leapt from the portal. 4 fingers out, Izuku landed and was up, holding Eri while his eyes darted around. "For an NPC, you're pretty fast. Must be your mother's influence," he giggled. "But you don't need to worry. We just need to borrow the brat. Have her use her quirk for a project," Tomura cackled. "Hell no. Now leave." Izuku slid Eri behind him, already pushing the panic button on his watch, the one device he let show to monitor. "Please, Izuku-kun, hand the child over and she'll remain unharmed," Kurogiri blurted out, looking desperate. Funny, when Izuku imagined meeting the man from his mother's journals, he didn't expect this gentleman behavior or nervousness. "It's for the best." Izuku threw the cape he'd been wearing for the game right at Kurogiri and pushed Eri to run to the bushes behind him, knowing that his calculations and analysis of Kurogiri's quirk, that Eri could, hopefully, make it to the street before Kurogiri caught sight of her. Tomura was apparently done with the nice guy act and lunged at Izuku before Eri could even process what she was supposed to do. Izuku found himself lifted in the air, the pinky dangerously close to landing on his neck, as Tomura held him. One tiny twitch and he'd be dead. Well, at least Eri ran, right? "I don't need you, and Sensei didn't say that I couldn't kill you exactly. He might be mad, but surely Sensei will understand. Who knew Green Ripper gave birth to such a weakling, right, Kurogiri?" "Shigaraki, put him down immediately," Kurogiri ordered, menacing. Tomura just scoffed. "Know your place. This is just an NPC. Nobody will miss him, and we'd finally have the useful sibling for the league permanently, with no family obligations. Eri's only being employed for her quirk. No harm will come to either of them. Sensei promised me." "Well, he's in our way, so he has to die. You're not even a little bit cool, NPC, so your death means nothing. Back off, Kurogiri, before you join him." I'm sorry, Izuku-kun." Kurogiri backed away. The 5th finger dangled over the artery in Izuku's throat. He closed his eyes, accepting his fate. "Wait!" Eri screamed. All motion stopped. "Just stop! I'll go with you." "And why does that matter? You're a pawn. I'm taking you either way." "If Nissan dies, I won't help you. I'll kick and scream and not help you," she said firmly. "Sensei could just take your quirk, brat." "But he won't, not with the drawbacks it has," Kurogiri muttered. Yeah, drawbacks. Let Nissan go, and I'll do what you say. I'll go with you." Tomura seemed to think on it before nodding to himself, throwing Izuku on the ground, pinning him with a boot. "Eri, no," he wheezed. "Shut up, NPC. You're lucky I don't want to make Sensei disappointed. Fine, Unicorn Pawn. We came for you, not him anyways. Kurogiri, take the girl and let's go before the heroes show up." Tomura flippantly broke one of Izuku's ribs with a snap, following by breaking his right leg. Izuku only glared at the villain. "That's just so you don't follow us. Who knows? If she's useful enough, we might just let you two visit when we reform this cursed society." Without a second glance, he stepped into the portal. "Eri-chan, say goodbye," Kurogiri mumbled. Eri looked from the open portal to her brother. "Eri, please. If you ever loved my mother, let her go." Kurogiri flinched and turned his head. "Quickly, your goodbyes." Eri took a deep breath before looking at him with tears. "Thanks to you, I got away from the Yakuza. Thanks to you and Mama, I had a happy place. But most of all, you showed me what it was like to have a papa. Thank you, To-chan." Those words froze Izuku's world. Everything seemed to stop, even time. The mist around Eri grew thicker, and her last words would haunt him for all time. "You were my hero. Now I'm yours. Princess Unicorn saves the day. Nissan." With that, they were gone. After Kurogiri tossed her tracking bracelet to his stomach, and Saturday became the day Izuku's heart shattered. His sweet angel, his little sister. His most precious person, the child that he and his mother gave everything for. The pain kept him in a haze, and it wasn't until Shota showed up that Izuku's eyes started leaking. It would be hours before he would notice that along with Eri's tracking bracelet, Kurogiri had thrown hope. "And this is the adopted one, the child that you said could rewind someone's internal clock?" An amused voice chuckled, staring at the tiny, crying girl through the monitor of his computer. Yes, and she's the key to ridding the world of diseases known as quirks, another younger voice griped. Careful. I may have gotten you out of prison, but I can just as easily rip you limb from limb. Do not insult me again. All might is our target. And then I get the girl, the younger prompted. Yes, you can have her, so long as she does what I need and I get her quirk later. While I may not want it in my body personally, there are many pawns I could force it on. How long, then? Patience, Chisaki. I've waited 200 years. You can wait a few days. By then I'll have completed my final goal. And after that, all for one will be unstoppable. This concludes Chapter 8 of The Coffee Shop Hero. I hope you guys are enjoying this fic still, and as always, I really appreciate your guys' support. Thank you guys so much for listening, and leave recommendations for other fics or any suggestions in the comments below. Thank you.